There's also a group of Republicans in Congress working hard to confuse people. They're actually having a debate between hurting Americans who will no longer be denied affordable health care just because they've been sick and harming the economy and millions of Americans in the process.
Republicans control the House of Representatives. They should stand up, use that power to, at the very least, make this law less bad, delay it, do something we can to protect the American public from this law. Or if we do nothing, we're just saying to the president, hey, you get your way. But that's not really what the government's about. When the government's divided, we should use the leverage of controlling at least part of government to try to get the law more to our liking.
Well, we're getting ready for a big standoff over the president's health care law and how that all fits into the budget battles to come in coming weeks. Here's an editorial from the president's hometown in Chicago, Chicago Tribune. It says this, quote, let's delay and rewrite this ill-conceived law. Congress need not start from scratch. Lawmakers can build on what all of us have learned from 3 years of painful trial and error, 3 years of attempting but failing to make this clumsy monstrosity work for the American people. That from the Chicago Tribune. We're back with the panel. Juan, how do you see this? And the president using those words, Republicans want to hurt Americans.
Well, I think there's no question the Republicans, and especially in the Senate, you're talking about Senator Cruz, Senator Lee, Senator Rubio. I mean, they want to defeat Obamacare. And in the House, you've had the 40 votes against, wanting to defeat Obamacare. And now I think you see even sort of an advocacy campaign, Heritage Action and others, going out there to say, as people are on August recess, here's the reason to defeat Obamacare. They have not had in this Congress one vote among Republicans on an alternative to Obamacare. And that's why President Obama is out there saying, all you're trying to do is defeat Obamacare. And I think most Republicans would agree that's their agenda.
To your point, the president mentioned that at his news conference last week, and Republicans pushed back.
At least they used to say, well, we're going to replace it with something better. There's not even a pretense now that they're going to replace it with something better.
We ought to be moving in the direction of patient-centered health care, which means patients and families and doctors making medical decisions, not Washington, D.C. We can do that. That's just what the administration chose not to do. But for the president to say that no Republican member of Congress has put up a positive solution or a solution to the health care challenges is simply not true.
Dr. Price, Congressman Price, has his own plan. There are a number of different plans, Nina, that Republicans have put forward. What about that whole back and forth about Republicans don't have a plan?
Well, I think it's interesting. I think it's very reminiscent of the 2012 presidential campaign, because that's sort of how this White House is operating on this, which is you define your opponents by describing them as obstructionists, mean, don't have a plan of their own, and you spend millions of dollars. You're talking about the millions on one side. The White House obviously is spending millions of dollars to sell its plan, and you've got what I find really interesting is the polls are showing a drop in the favorable, unfavorable, the favorable approval of Obamacare. But it doesn't necessarily mean those people become opponents. They're actually kind of in the confused category. So they're the independent voter category. So what you have is this president trying to win over independent voters, just like in the 2012 election. So he's trying to get ahead of the curve on things like that Chicago Tribune editorial. There's a lot of negative press out there about Obamacare right now. There's concern about rising premiums. There's concerns that employers are not hiring full-time employees, that they're just want to stick to part-time employees because they don't want to fall under the mandate. There's concerns about the business mandate being pushed off a year, legal concerns about how the White House is handling this. So basically, he's trying to get ahead of the curve with this very, playing hardball against his opponents.
I think it's $67 million the administration is spending on trying to sell Obamacare and push it out. For now.
That number will increase.
And I think it was Senator Paul this weekend who said there are something like 45 million people without health insurance. Maybe use that 67 million and get the 45 million Health insurance.
Each one could have a chunk. Look, I think it's totally disingenuous for the president to pretend that the opposition or the problems with Obamacare are coming from a group of Republicans in Washington. I mean, literally look at any poll that's been taken over the past 2.5 years. Everybody opposes Obamacare. Republicans, independents, so majorities of independents oppose Obamacare. The real problem he's facing is that an increasing number of Democrats oppose or at least have additional questions about Obamacare and talk about harming the economy. We've again seen poll after poll suggesting that businesses are either freezing or cutting hiring because of concerns about Obamacare. So that is what's harming the economy.